Hey guys, and welcome back to another flashlight review. This is the Convoy S21F. I've posted about this some time ago and finally got around to recording the review video, doing some beam shots, and I've used it for a few weeks now. I mean, this is the first light that I've owned that has tint shifting ability. So what that means is that it has 4 different LEDs in here. It's a little bit difficult to see at the moment, but it's got 2 Nichia 519 LEDs in 2700K and the other 2 519s in 5700K. And you can actually use the controller here, the button here, to shift in between the two, to fade in and out between the two. So you get a continuous shift from 2700 to 5700K. You can sort of get into the middle parts as well, 3500K even, depending on what you like. So yeah, I think it's pretty unique, and I haven't seen Convoy do another light like this. There's probably a few other tint shifting lights out there, but this is the only one that that I own. So it's pretty small. One of the things, that was probably the first thing I noticed about it. I mean, it just fits in the palm of my hand, and the head is almost the same size as the body. So if you're going to pocket it, it's not going to be a big deal, and it's not going to feel kind of out of place. I know some of the lights that you get these days, they do have a much larger head, and it does feel awkward, especially when you're putting it head down into your pocket. But yeah, this is definitely EDC territory if you're looking for a flashlight that you can carry around with you very easily. The construction reminds me a bit of the M21F, which I'll talk a little bit about later. So let's talk about the construction and LED lens, bezel, and reflector. So Convoy have definitely stepped things up a notch or two in the construction of the light. So the machining, if you look at it, it's really on point. And, you know, compared to, say, the M21B, a pretty simple sort of design, and the S21, the S2 Plus especially, I mean, you've got all these things here, like, for example, the tail cap. It's got this really nice knurling that runs across even the battery tube here as well. It's a little bit more intricate and more of a modernized design. I mean, you've still got these cutouts down the side of the head, and look at this, you've even got, you know, an area here, little areas where you can put tritium vials in if you have them. They're a little bit tricky to get your hands on them these days. But yeah, the machining's definitely on point. Smooth edges, you know, a lot more intricate, aesthetically pleasing design, in my opinion, compared to some of the other Convoy flashlights that we're used to. The tail cap and the button, something I really like, especially the button with this blue ring. And the button also has got a, you know, you need to press it. I mean, not hard, but it requires a firm press, which I think is important, especially if you're keeping this thing in your pocket. You don't want it to turn on accidentally in there. Here's a little close-up of the TIR optic. It's quad TIR lens with AR glass on the front. Also got an O-ring on the front for water resistance. It's a huge plus for me. Most lights with TIR optics are easily scratched, and that can definitely deteriorate the beam quality over time. So the TIR lens actually looks quite similar to the ones they use on those downlights, and you'll see in the beam shots later what I mean. It's very, very floody. I ended up being able to, so you can put some pliers in there or something, some calipers, and turn it around, some tweezers or something like that, and actually take off the bezel. That's how I actually found out that this has a glass lens on the front. You can access the LEDs as well. You know, some people like to de-dome these 519As. I don't think there's a point, though, in this type of TIR optic. I mean, it's just diffusing the light very, to make a very floody beam anyway, so you're just going to probably lose your lumens if you do that. Very easy to disassemble, like any Convoy flashlight out there. You can just unscrew it without any special tools. You know, even some pliers around the house will get you by. And I think that's great for those of you who like modifying lights, changing out the LEDs, you know, fixing things, DIY. You know, Convoy is really the best for that sort of thing. You know, you've got USB-C charging, another plus for Convoy, and, you know, another similarity to the M21F as well, which also has that. And it's, you know, quite a thick port cover in the back there. Okay, so it's, you know, you have to press it down a bit. It's not something I feel like it's going to flip off or pull out accidentally. So mine came with a 21700 cell, a Moly cell P42A, and this is a battery I've heard of, you know, sometime in the past on a forum. It's a premium battery that has a maximum discharge rate of 30 amps. So, definitely going to provide the amount of current that's required to power these 4 LEDs. So let's just compare this to a few other Convoy lights and other flashlights that I have in terms of size. Okay, here we are. I've just pulled out a few of my other flashlights, and this is what I mean with the M21F and the S21F. This same sort of design, the knurling, the tail cap, the button, everything like that. I mean, it just looks a bit different from all the other Convoy flashlights and just a step above. The only thing I wish that it had was maybe a tail switch button as well. But, comparing it to the M21B, very classic Convoy host, it's so much smaller. Even the bezel size is smaller. Obviously not going to be as small as the S21, the S21B or the S2 Plus, but certainly gets there. In terms of the length, very similar in length. It's just a little bit bigger, I think, due to that TIR lens in there. Okay, so yeah. Okay, quick UI demonstration. I'm just going to show you how to use this light, some of the basic features. Click and hold. Okay, that gives you the moonlight mode. And if you turn on the flashlight and then click and hold, okay, it actually ramps in between warm to cool. So now it's turning on the warmer LEDs. Can you see that? And now it's just the 2 warm LEDs that are on. Okay, if you want to change it, go back to like a cooler color, click and hold. Okay, and see, it's now changing, and you can see it just sort of dimming the warm LEDs and starting to ramp up the white ones. So you can actually stop it in between if you want, and get something that's 50-50. For example, now. Okay, so it's really up to you what you want. Now, to access turbo, it's just a double click. Okay, and you can access that from off. While the flashlight is turned on, you can switch between the different modes. So yeah, basically 4 different modes: 1%, 10%, 40%, and 100%. I believe you can also go to stepless mode by clicking 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so when the light is on, you can just basically click and hold to ramp it up and down. I just use the stepped ramping. It's quicker. Okay, there's a few other functions as well. You can use a mode called tactical mode. So you click the button 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and what happens is that every time you press the button, it will activate turbo. And one thing I find really cool about the S21F is that it looks like Convoy has decreased the delay. I did notice on my Convoy L8 that there is a bit of a delay on the tactical mode, whereas this, it's less pronounced. There's a very, very, very slight delay, but it's definitely more responsive. So to deactivate, just 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and it should deactivate. You can also check the voltage of the flashlight by clicking 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and it's blinked out 4, so 4 volts. So yeah, that's basically it for the UI. All right, let's talk a bit about performance. And you can see this first graph here, it's on turbo mode, and the flashlight is lasting nearly up to 1 minute on 100% before it starts ramping down, and ramps down very quickly between 1 and 2 minutes. At the 2-minute mark, it holds 20% of its output and stops ramping down. Okay, now if I only activate the 2700K LEDs, you see a very similar pattern where it will hold its brightness close to the 1 minute mark, just before the 1 minute mark, and it will just ramp down very quickly. And about the 1.5 minute mark, it is about 20-something percent, 25% of its original output. Now, I ran the same test using just the cool LEDs, the 5700K ones. Found something interesting. It doesn't ramp down, until the 2 minute point. So it holds 100% up until 2 minutes, where it starts ramping down, goes to about 40%, and then suddenly it just jumps up again to 60% near 4 minutes, and does that for about a couple minutes, and then jumps down again. End of the test after about 11, 12 minutes. So that was quite an interesting curve, but the main thing was just that it holds the lumen output for longer. I'm not sure why, but yeah, something to definitely keep in mind. So I did some measurements on my Opal Light Master Pro, and you can see how I've separated it all out here. 2 times the 2700K on 100%. You can see the candela ratings, throw 79 meters, 2626K, 98.1 CRI. You've got 2 times 5700K. Throws a bit further, another close to 10 meters further, 87 meters of throw, 5424K. So just a bit short of that 5700, but color rendering index 97.4. Now when you have all the LEDs on, I got 105 meters of throw and 3715K. So you still get a bit of a warm bias with the 3700K, even with all the LEDs on, and the color rendering index 96.9. The quad TIR lens creates a really nice wide floody beam. I think it's great for a walking light for those of you guys who don't want anything, don't want a flashlight that's going to blind you up close. This thing produces just a really nice, even, floody light. Like I mentioned before, the lens reminds me of just one of those downlights that you see around the house, that those general lights that will light up an entire room. So yeah, I think it's a very useful beam, and you're not going to blind someone as well if you're using it as a walking light. In terms of considerations, there's a couple things I noticed on the UI. The smooth ramping is really slow, and it's a little bit choppy as well. It's not so smooth. So that's the main reason why I've switched to step ramping. It's faster, a little bit more efficient. I also found when using that tactical mode, to deactivate that tactical mode, you're pressing the button 4 times, and sometimes it just doesn't deactivate, and you have to keep on clicking it, and finally it works. So a couple of little hiccups in the UI, but other than that, I think the flashlight performs really well. It's also got USB-C charging, which I really like to see some of these Convoy lights. Normally I'd say it'd be good to have a tactical switch on the back, but this isn't a tactical light at the end of the day. It's a walking light, it's an EDC sort of light. I think this side switch is more than sufficient to operate this flashlight in a variety of situations. So overall, very impressed with this latest addition to Convoy's range, and it's really good to see that they're using modern features, USB-C charging, tint shifting, and just having it in such an affordable little package like this. You can have a light that you can use around the house at night on 2700K, or you go outside, maybe you just want a bit of extra light, maximum visibility, ramp that up to 5700K. The LEDs are great quality as well, the Nichia 519A, so great color rendering index. The value for money with Convoy lights is just second to none. If you're interested in buying this light, I've put the link in the description. You can check it out. And if you have questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll definitely get back to you. If you also like the video, make sure you click the like button because it helps me get my videos out to more people. And if you want to see me make some more flashlight reviews, make sure you subscribe. Convoy S21F, and this is going to be just on turbo. So both types of LEDs on. Turbo. Okay. And yeah, pretty sort of floody beam, very wide floody beam. This is great walking light, and especially if you don't want to blind anyone. Low candela, but I mean, great visibility up close, and it's so pleasant to look at as well. Which that's still on turbo. One thing you can do is also change the modes. So I can go into, hang on, just put that in this is in the 2700K, and I'll ramp that up. Okay, 2700K, and I mean, not much throw, but maybe just that tree closer up, that close to 100 meters, less sort of around that point. That looks quite all right. You can still see that tree. If we switch over to the warmer 2 LEDs, you can see Okay, I've just shifted directly into it, and I reckon there's a little more visibility. Okay. Turbo again. Maximum visibility and max lumens. And this rain, it's really obscuring and making it kind of look a bit hazy off in the distance. You can see the rain just coming in, but point it upwards, going down like that, it's a bit better. Okay, off, turbo, off.